All right, we're graphing inequalities. Now, this is going to be similar to what we did in Chapter 1 where we're graphing on the number line. In Chapter 1, when we had less than or greater than, we made open circles. Well, in this one, we're not really going to do circles because we're graphing on, coordinate planes. We're doing more than just a number line. If you have it less than or greater than, and that's what we're doing for this part of Chapter 2, this one's going to make it a dashed line. So similar to its open circle, it's going to be like an open line if you want to think about it this way. The line's going to have some gaps in it, so it's going to be open. Less than equal to, greater than equal to, that was a solid circle. So this one's going to be a solid line. So that part's going to be similar. So it's a dashed, or you'd like to call it an open line. If it's got the bar underneath it, instead of being a solid circle, now we're talking about a solid line. So there are no gaps in this thing. Now, here's where I'm going to break with what the textbook would say. So this is going to be something where, if you're doing online homework or looking at the textbook, I'm going to give you something that to me is a little bit faster and a little bit easier. If you have y greater or y greater than or equal to, because when we do inequalities, that means you have to shade. In this case, you're going to shade. If it's greater, you're going to shade up from the line. Because you're going to draw either a dashed line or solid line, and then depending on whether it's greater or less than, you're going to shade up or down. So we're going to shade up on this part. And if it's y less than or y less than or equal to, either one of those two, then you're going to shade down. Okay, and that is the only thing that we're adding to this part, is that for dashed lines and solid lines, instead of being circles, we're doing lines now. And the one thing you're going to do is we're going to shade up, and that's only if it's inequalities. If it's equations, you don't have to shade the lines. You just draw the line, and that's it, and then you're done. Okay, now let me just pause for 1 second. So we're going to do y greater than 2x plus 1. And there's two types of graphs you're going to have to do on this test. One is this, where you're drawing just a linear equation or linear inequality. We're going to draw just the straight line. The only thing that will be different is, for some of the problems, you're going to have an absolute value. And if you had an absolute value, then instead of being a straight line, it would be a V-shaped line. But we'll do that one next. So that's your two choices. You're either doing straight lines or you're doing the absolute values. Okay, for this problem, your slope in this case is 2. Which again, we need it as a fraction because we need to know how much to move up and over. That's 2 over 1. And your b value here is positive 1. Okay, so good review from a couple of days ago when we were doing this. I guess actually we were doing this last week. Did a little bit of it yesterday, but did most of it last week. B value tells you where to start on the y-axis, so you're going to start at positive 1. And to get to the next point, it is positive, so we're going up 2 and over 1. Now, again, if this was an equation, you would just connect the dots and you were good. You didn't have to do anything else. With the inequalities, two things you have to do is, because it's y greater, that's going to tell you two things. First off, it's a dashed line. And because it's greater, you're going to shade up. So, it's like, say you're throwing shade at this line, but you're going to throw shade at this line, right? Bad thing about throwing shade at the math problem is it doesn't know you're throwing shade at it, right? It's just a math problem. It's kind of that commercial for State Farm where the guy's trash talking the pothole when it, when he hits it and it breaks the rim on his car. Yeah, you trash talk a pothole, but it's not going to talk back. So. Okay, so here's what you got to do. Make it dashed. There you go. So there's your dashed line. Now, if you're using a pen on the test and you forget and you make this solid, you can just go back beside me and just put that this is supposed to be a dashed line. You can actually write out this should be dashed because sometimes people use a pen on the test and they'll forget and they'll do that. And again, here's where the easy thing is for doing this one. Because some people are like, well, how do I know which way is up? Because it depends on which way I look at it. No, you put your pen or your marker, whatever you're going to do, you put it on the line and you draw an arrow in the up direction. You've got to shade everything on this side of the line. So when you're shading it, it's everything on the up side of the line because it's y greater. Now the old way, and I think this is what the book will also tell you to do. The old way to do this was, and this is what you probably did way back in Algebra 1, you had to pick a point that wasn't on the line. Most time we tried to pick 0, 0. And you would take that point 0, 0 and you'd plug it back into the inequality. You plug it back in, and then you would work it out. So 0 greater than 0 plus 1, that's 0 greater than 1, which means this part would be false. So if we plugged in this point at 0, 0, it made this thing false, which means you don't shade this side, you'd have to shade the other side. Okay, that's great, and if you don't do that, that's fine, but there's a lot easier way. Y greater, you shade up. Y less, you shade down. You don't have to pick a test point. You don't have to plug it in. Just Y greater, you're going up from the line. If it's Y less, you're going down from the line. And that's it. That's all you have to do. So you don't have to do this test point and plug it back in. If you want to, that's great, but there's a much, much, much faster way to get there. All right, I think I've got 3 more examples. Let's go y less than or equal to absolute value of x minus 2 plus 3. Alright, and again, 2 things you can get from this one right off the bat. It's y less than or equal to, which means this is a solid line. And it's y less than, so you're going to shade down. Alright, and these 2 numbers are your vertex. So again, we're going to change that sign from -2 to +2. And that one stays just like it is as a +3. So this one needs a lot of room at the top and over to the right because that's where most of this graph is going to be. We got vertex at 2, 3. So over 2 and up 1, 2, 3 would put us right here. And for the slope, and again, if there's nothing in front of x, then in that case, it's understood to be 1. So your kind of slope is 1, which means it's 1 over 1. So from here, we're going up 1 over 1 to the right side, and up 1 over 1 to the left side. And again, this is where I always have to check. If I make mistakes, it's usually the line. I get excited and I just draw the lines. In this case, it is a solid line. So we'll make it solid in both directions. And when you shade it, and again, some people are like, well, how do I know which way to shade? Because there's different parts of the line. That's fine. Put your pen, your highlighter, whatever you're going to shade with. Shade down. Put it on the line and draw down. Put it on the line, draw down. Put it on the line, draw down. And you don't have to fill in every single line. You can just, 3 or 4 arrows coming down. So I've got the basic direction of which way you're going. That's all I have to have. All right, give you a couple more. Oh, now one thing on the homework. On the homework, when you're shading, there's a bucket. It's like a paint can. And it's got like paint coming out of it, something like this. That's how you're going to be able to shade the different parts of it. That after you draw the line in, and you've got your line drawn in here, click on this button. Now if you click on that button, you either click above the line or below the line, and wherever you click, it's going to shade that area. So once you've got this thing drawn, to shade everything down here, just click on this button and then just click somewhere down here, and it'll automatically fill in everything underneath the V part of the absolute value there. So that's your button on the online homework. Alright, so let's go with y less than or equal to negative 3x. And again, the number in front of x, if it's without the absolute value, that is the slope. So that's negative 3, which is negative 3 over 1 if you make it a fraction. And there is no b value, right? So if you don't add anything to it, that makes the b value be 0. Okay, and from the less than greater than symbol, that tells us what to do. First off, it's got the bar underneath it, so that's a solid line. And because it's y less than, we're going to shade down. Okay, and most of this graph, the way we're going to draw it, is going to be down, kind of on the bottom part down here. Alright, b value is 0, so that puts us here. Slope is negative 3 over 1, so now again, it's not a V shape, so we're only going down 3, 1, 2, 3, and over 1. This one was a solid line. There's our graph there. Now, and some people on the test got confused about when they have to shade and when they don't have to shade. If it's less than or greater than, you have to shade. If it's just equal, you do not shade, you just draw the line. So since this one, again, it's got the less than or greater than part, you've got to shade. And again, we are shading down because it's less than. And again, sometimes people get a little confused. They're like, well, that's pretty steep. I don't know which way is down. Just put your line on there, and as much as you can, you just draw in the down direction. That's everything over here kind of to the left side. Alright, one last one we'll do, and then we'll turn you loose on the homework. Let's do y is greater than 1/2 times the absolute value of x plus 3 minus 1. Alright, this one's y greater, so it's a open or a dashed line. And because it's y greater, we're going to shade up. Okay, two numbers behind it, those are the vertex. And again, change the inside number from positive to negative. The second number, it is what it is, so that's our vertex. And then that 1/2, that's kind of like the slope. Okay, and this one, when you graph it, you'll need a little bit more room kind of to the left and down, because it's mostly to the left side over here. Okay, so most important point again is the vertex. So go -3, -1. So that will put the vertex right there. The kind of slope is 1/2. So again, the kind of meaning we've got to go up and to the right and up and to the left. So we're going up 1 over 2 to get the next point over here. Up 1 and 2 to the left to get the next point that would be over here. Okay, again, just being careful. Don't draw the lines too quick because it is a dashed line. Kind of a wide graph there. And we are shading on the upside. So start anywhere on the line and start drawing up. So that's everything in that part. Oh, now I did forget one thing. Let me give you one other quick. Take like 1 minute here. One thing I did forget to mention back earlier in the first part of 2.7. They're going to talk about stretches and compression. So if the number in front, if they talk about these, because we're going to talk about it a little bit here just real quick. If the number in front of x is greater than 1, it is called a stretch. And if the number in front of x is, it's less than 1, but they don't worry about the negatives in this case, so if it's between 0 and 1, it's called a compression, or just a compress sometimes. Yeah, so if it's some fraction value, if it's a half or a third or 2/5 or something like that, they're going to call that a compression.